So we are going to be looking into NanoMesh now. This is very similar to the insert brushes, which allows you to quickly insert a model onto another model. Now the difference is that this is procedural, so we can change it at any time, which is really handy. Before, when we added all the little guys to this model, we can't change them afterwards. So there's a huge plus in being able to change it as well. So there are two ways of actually capturing a NanoMesh brush. The first one is we have a brush here now. So we have a piece of geometry here. And we go to the front view like this. Just make sure it's snapped properly to the front view. This is really important because the orientation of the capture does matter a lot. Then we go to the C modeler brush. B, Z, and M. And now we have the C modeler active. Now if we hit the spacebar while hovering over a polygon, we can set the action to be mesh to brush and the target to be all polygons. Essentially, this means that whatever we click on is going to be converted to a brush. And what do we click on? We click on all the polygons. So now we click on all the polygons like this, and now we have another brush. Now you can see it's popped up over here. What we have to do now as well is we just have to hit the spacebar, and now we just have to click Insert NanoMesh, because otherwise it's going to keep recapturing that brush or that object. So what we can do now we can go here and we can just drag out a NanoMesh, and we can just keep dragging out the NanoMeshes. This is really useful because now we can keep changing this under the NanoMesh settings. So we find this under Tool and NanoMesh, and here we go. So now you can see the different ones we have put out here now. So we have a few different ones with 0, 1, and 2. So you can see where they are. So now we can go in and we can change the size of them, and really useful stuff. Also, we can set them up for different subtools as well, or for different polygroups. So if we were to now click on a single, like alt click on it like this, and now if we were to change the target, now we set the target to be the polygroups all. I would just drag it out, and now you can see that each polygroup will now get a separate brush here, or separate NanoMesh brush out. So if you want it to, for instance, be in very specific places, you want it to be there, 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 and also there, you can now just alt-click on them with the C modeler brush active, and then we just drag them out like so. So this allows us to have a lot of procedural quality over, and like we said before, we can change the size, like so. Or if you want to be precise, you just go hover straight over it like this, and now you can change the size, change the width of them. We can actually change this, we can change the height. So if you want to change the offset where they are, we can change all sorts of different things. We can also change the random distribution as well, how many of them are there. Change the random seed, change the pattern of them, how many times do they tile across it. So we can change all sorts of stuff. So this here is very specifically handy for hard surface like this. This is a very real use case where you know you need bolts in all these different places here, and there's very specific, but maybe you don't know exactly what kind of bolt it is. Because you can replace it as well. You can go in here and you can edit mesh, and you can keep adding loops to this. We can, for instance, go in here and we can change the mesh. We can go in here and we can do an insert. Now we can just insert a few loops here. We can keep modifying this shape as we go along. Edit mesh, and now you can see that all these little guys have now got the additional edge loops into it. Another way we can capture our NanoMesh is we can convert it first to an insert mesh brush. So here we have another example. Here we have a tree. Clearly, this is a very nice tree, as you can see. And we also have an environment here. So the idea here is that we want to scatter this across the environment. So the way we capture this tree is we can go to the top view again, make sure this is set to, or like it doesn't have to be top. It doesn't, if it's here or here, what matters is it's facing the camera. So if this here is rotated the other way, that doesn't matter. And then we go to brush, and we do create insert mesh brush. And now we can just append it, or we can create a new. We're going to create a new one. And now we can drag this out like we did before. Just now we can see it's a nice insert mesh. And it's called NanoMesh, but that's just the name of the actual brush. And then we can go from brush, and we can now create a NanoMesh brush. So now we have created a NanoMesh brush from this. So if we now were to drag it out like this, now this is an actual NanoMesh brush instead of an insert brush. So let's go to our terrain here now, And let's just delete all the stuff we already have. So that's our NanoMesh. And so now we can just go to the plane, and now we can, instead of replacing what's here, we can just drag on top of them and make sure that insert NanoMesh is active and all polygons are set. And now it's just going to set it to all the polygons here. So you can see that the offset is a bit off, so we just have to move the Z offset on this. This is because the axis it was captured at. So just you can offset this just a teeny tiny bit, like so. And then what's cool now is that we can do random distribution. This just means we can just distribute it as much as we want to. What's cool as well is we can also do some rotation to it. So we can do some rotation like this. We can do some rotation like this, rotation like this, and then we can set them to random. So now we're just going to do a little bit of random variation here. Clearly, you don't want this here to go absolutely crazy, but it's really cool. You can just add some slight randomness to it. So this is a really good use case for it, where you're just adding a little bit of rotation or a little bit of randomness to your terrains. So NanoMesh is an incredibly useful tool, and you can use it for so many things when it comes to scattering models onto different models. Again, to reiterate how you do it, 2 ways of creating a NanoMesh. You go to the actual NanoMesh brush like this. You go to BZM to get the C modeler brush active. Now we click Mesh to Brush and we set all polygons, then we click it. Or we can go to Brush and we can go to Create Insert Mesh Brush, and then we convert this to a NanoMesh as well. And then we have a nice little NanoMesh brush. And then we control this right under Tool and NanoMesh right here.